People think that you can reach enlightenment through the clitoris. And I was like, absolutely. It's like, show me the way. That really struck a chord in me. So then I watched, so Nicole Daedone is the founder and the creator of Orgasmic Meditation as it is taught today. She's not the creator of clit stroking spiritual practices. There are many of those and that's an ancient lineage. However, as Om exists, she created the parameters of this particular practice through lots of trial and error and what is effective. And I watched her TED Talk and she says, Om is the cure for the hunger in the Western woman.
What if the conversations we've been taught to avoid about sex, desire, and our bodies are actually the ones that set us free? Welcome to Sex Ritual Radio. I'm your host, Rose Hartsong. This is the show where sexuality, spirituality, and vital health meet, and where we explore the conversations most people consider oh so taboo. Each week, I sit down with fascinating voices exploring intimacy, relationships, healing, and human potential. Let's dive in. Welcome to Sex Ritual Radio. My name is Rose Hartsong, and I am your host of Sex Ritual Radio. And this show is all about sexuality, spirituality, holistic health, and we talk a lot about things that are taboo on this show. And so if you're here from the taboo, stay with us because we're going to have a really fun conversation tonight with an amazing guest that I recently met. I'm really excited to get into the juiciness of this because y'all, I have had this topic has been taboo for me for years, and I have flirted with it and played with it and explored it, and I've never fully dove into it, and I feel like I'm having an initiation with that right now. So I'm really excited to have the guest. I have Cara Joy Brand here with me. She is an erotic liberation revolutionary, which I really love that title, a certified orgasmic meditation coach, which is what we're going to be talking about. That's the part that's that taboo aspect. She's certified in S Factor, and she's a leader of Women Over Dinner. And that's actually how we have met, as I attended a Women Over Dinner event down in San Diego a couple months ago. It was beautiful and amazing, and I just felt so connected to you, Cara. So thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to have you. Thank you for taking your time and your energy to be on Sex Ritual Radio. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Rose. It's deeply my pleasure to be here. My honor. Thanks for having me. And I love talking about women's power, sexuality, taboo. So I just was really excited for this conversation. And I love that you do this. We need more women like you in the world.
Aw, thanks so much. So, I want to tell a little bit of story before we dive into your story fully of orgasmic meditation, because I don't think you know my relationship with it. We haven't really talked about it, have we?
Not
Like,
fully.
yeah. So I went to India in 2013 and I explored Tantra in a Tantra university in Copenhagen. And I had my first yoni massage and I had my first cervical orgasm, and I was like high and addicted to cervical orgasms. And then I started dating this guy. We were just sleeping together, who was I met him at a Tony Robbins event, and he was hired by Nicole to help grow orgasmic meditation, or OM, to another level. So he was like the business guy. His name, I don't know if I should say his name actually on here. I don't know if he'd appreciate it, but I can tell you offline. I didn't ask him permission. Anyways, he was growing the company, and so I was sleeping with him, and he's, hey, do you want to try this thing that I'm like in this business with where everybody's just like, hanging around doing all the time? And I was like, sure. And so he stroked me, and I was like, what is this? I want a cervical orgasm. What are you doing? And that was in 2013, so it was a long time ago. And I've been to orgasmic meditation events and I've had moments with strokers throughout the years, but I've never fully devoted to the practice. And for those who are listening, they have no idea what I'm talking about. But I guess what I'm saying is it's been 13 years of flirting with OM, and I'm really grateful to be connected with you. And I feel like your invitation initiated something that was already being they're craving to be awoken again. So for the listeners who are listening and they don't know what OM, or orgasmic meditation, is, can you explain it?
Yeah, we call it Om, and not to be confused with the mantra. of that is Hindu or Buddhist Sanskrit word, but it is orgasmic meditation and Om for short. And so what it is a partnered meditation practice. So one person who has a clitoris lays down in what we call a nest, which is basically like a yoga mat and a blanket on the floor. The stroker, who is someone with a finger, will sit next to them and stroke very lightly, very gently, very specifically the upper left-hand quadrant of the clitoris for 15 minutes and only for 15 minutes. So you set a timer, use gloves, use lube. It's very precise, it's repeatable, and it's incredibly powerful meditation practice. It is biohacking, bootstrapping our biology because sexuality is what we are biologically programmed to pay attention to, right? The sexual drive, turn on, arousal, all of that grabs our attention and directs it towards meditation. And so, especially if you're someone who finds yourself like, I can't concentrate when I meditate, I get up and next thing I know, I'm like looking at my phone and it's an incredibly, you don't leave the nest. You know what I mean? Once you get into an home, you're not going to accidentally get up and get distracted. You are there and you are present and you get to access the mystical state. There's tons of science about it now and studies that have shown that brand new practitioners of Om, someone who's been trained, that's a big part of the practice is you have to be trained because it's very unique and hard to understand unless you actually get the full training. Within their first couple of Oms are hitting deep theta brainwave states like 20-year long-term sitting meditation practitioners. It would take someone in sitting meditation to practice every day for 20 years to hit that brainwave state. But because we've got the sex drive involved, you've got genitals involved, and your attention is involved, you can hit those states almost immediately in your practice. That's the potential of the practice. And so it has incredible benefits for PTSD, for erectile dysfunction, for women who are diagnosed as anorgasmic, and just honestly, I don't know a part of life that it doesn't benefit.
Wow, it's amazing. I love that. So, for clarification for the listeners, I'm sure they're like, if they've never heard about this before, which a lot of people haven't, right? It's not as common as it could be or should be, or I'd like it to be, right?
Mhm.
The idea of the clitoris being stroked is very edgy, right?
Yeah.
And it was even edgy for me the first time I had it done because part of the practice is the stroker witnesses what they see or expresses what they are witnessing or seeing. And so I think that was the scariest and most vulnerable part for me is just having somebody look at my vulva so intently and not with a place of needing to get anything out of it, which I think a lot of times with sexual interactions, it's like there's a lot of time there's an extractive energy to witnessing the vulva or the vagina. With one of the things I like about Om is there's a devotional element to just being present with what is. And for people who are like, what? You're talking about stroking my clitoris. What do you say to the fear of that, or the shutdown, or the insecurity, or the shame that comes up? Because I'm sure it's present for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely a controversial practice, especially in the West, in the US, because we are such an anti-sex culture. And most people would not think that because everything is so over sexualized in our media and porn is such a big deal and in the entertainment industry and women's beauty and health and the consumption of all of those things. But this country is at its core anti-sex. It was founded by Puritans and that has not changed. It's still Puritans running the country. And this is revolutionary and subversive, incredibly subversive. And so I would say, yes, it does bring up a lot of feelings. It did in me when I first heard about it. But it was the whole range of feelings. It was, and this is what I hear from people all the time. Some people hear about it and they're like you, who have already done some work around the feminine and sexuality, are like, oh, yes, of course, that makes total sense, right? But then a lot of other people will hear about it and think, number one, I could never do that. And number two, God, I wish I could do that. Because we have a lot of programming going on, unconscious programming going on inside of us, that we have both our biology pointing us towards anything that's sexually charged environments have the most interest to us. And then we have all of that puritanical anti-sex cultural, societal, parental programming inside of us saying you can't do that, especially as a woman. Generally speaking, men have no problem with the idea. They're like, that sounds amazing. And then women will go, I want that, but I can't have that.
Yeah.
And so it really is a whole getting in the nest, laying down for an ohm, even just asking someone to have an ohm is reversing that conditioning. It's like deprogramming yourself, especially as a woman, to say sexuality, the erotic is what I am made of. It is the core of my power. And I am going to take responsibility for it and I'm going to learn some skill with it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think one of the things is, yes, you might be afraid of this or overwhelmed or say, I want that, but there's an element that opens up within somebody when they do it on a regular basis, right? I'm imagining, I'm making up, I feel the energy of the space in which I go to be with people who ohm regularly, and there's a frequency shift, right?
Oh, yeah. So what have you experienced? Tell me more about that.
So it's like, I've noticed that there's this energy that I'm just like, a holy yes to. And it's almost like a rose petal is the velour and the softness of the rose petal and the redness, like a red rose petal, and the tenderness of it is in the veil of the air that goes
Mm.
through the space, right? And when I talk a lot about it, I talk about the difference between sexual energy and erotic energy. And they're very different. A lot of times, sexual energy in our, like what you're talking about in our society right now, is this really big, extractive, takey, needy, primal, animalistic, hollow energy. And then there's this sexual embodiment element of being in the body, being anchored in pleasure, being unapologetic in your pleasure and desiring and being clear about it. And I say I'm trying to shift it to that is erotic intelligence. That is, you are educated in your eros, you understand the energy and the frequency that is. And I think that I witness with my clients, and one of the reasons I'm wanting to dive into this is there's an understanding mentally of that, but there's a disconnect of the feeling of it. And so when I think about orgasmic meditation, it's almost like what you're saying with the theta brain state and the nervous system, it's rewiring the nervous system to settle into that rose petal frequency. Does that make sense?
Totally. That makes sense to me. That's a gorgeous way to describe it, really poetic and beautiful. I think that my interpretation of that, I've been practicing now for 13 years and teaching for about the same amount of time.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that there's a lot of sexuality, erotic, tantra, there's a lot of practices out there. I teach S Factor, which is it's a feminine embodied movement practice. So to me, it's like the movement practice equivalent of Om, whereas Om is a meditation practice, S Factor is a movement practice. But they have the same flavor of of what the real feminine actually is, not I'd actually say not the absence of the feminine, which is what we've been sold by our culture and that is the feminine, but that's actually the absence of the feminine. I think that's generally what I hear you talking about when you say sexuality versus the erotic and erotic intelligence. I hear the way I would describe it would be consumption or the absence of the feminine versus connection and the presence of the feminine. And in porn and in, let's just say, most marriages, most relationships, men are trained to crave the absence of the feminine. So it's be beautiful, but don't talk too much. Don't have too many opinions. Un don't be inconvenient. Don't want too much. Don't eat too much. Don't have too big of a body. Don't wear too outrageous clothing. And it's like that's the absence of the feminine. The feminine is incredibly inconvenient. It has a lot of opinions. It's desire. It is desire and it is life force energy. So it is going to be all it wants is more life. And so what it's going to bring to your life is life. It's going to bring you discomfort and challenge and growth and fulfillment and flourishing and wildness, and but that's what the most enjoyable life is, right? So that's what the actual feminine will bring. And I think it is a my experience of it is it's a very vulnerable, relaxed, soft, open power. So
Mm.
when I hear you say the velvet of a rose petal, that's what I would say. Yes, that is a soft, relaxed, open, vulnerable power. You can crush it, but it is resilient. It will grow back, right? And I think that is the essence of the true feminine as well, is that it is resilience, is that it will, and it is strong. It's not authority. It's not power over something. It's more like a planet, the gravity of a planet that moves all the planets around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently did a reel on Instagram that got a lot of triggers, which was really interesting to witness. It's really fascinating to see what pokes people. And what I said was that, isn't it fascinating that we live in a society in which men are socially conditioned to ejaculate and women are socially conditioned to numb and shut down? And that yet, when a man ejaculates regularly, he loses his center and his power. And when a woman doesn't tap into her orgasmic energy, she is numb and disassociated and out of her power. And how maybe that someone out there is trying to control our power through our sexual energy.
Yeah.
And
I think
so
that you've hit the nail on the head with that one. I don't know that it's someone, but definitely
society,
if
society
you
has
have
done it.
full access to your erotic, man or woman, you cannot be controlled.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and so I think when I think about orgasmic meditation, I think it's the safest, most effective, as you said, fastest with the theta brainwaves to shift that nervous system paradigm into a new frequency through a taboo practice. It's a very taboo meditation practice, let's just
Mhm.
be honest. And I want to say something you told me to do. So, it's what's the new organization, the nonprofit organization for orgasmic meditation called?
Institute of Om.
So, the Institute of Om has these 2 hour, I think it was 3 hour long training that I got on. And one of the things that I've been really resistant to because I am not trained, I'm a total newbie, even though I've been flirting with the idea of it since 2013. I'm
You've
not
been doing Om-like practices, Om-inspired
home
stroking.
inspired stroking, but I wasn't educated. And so I was like totally humbled by that 3 hour class. I'm like, oh, naughty, naughty Rose. Wow. You should have showed up and got educated a long time ago.
It
Because
is
I
really
was,
one of those things that if you want the benefits of the practice, you have to actually get the training and do the actual practice. And because it's not what you would say call intuitive in the sense of it's not, and pretty much the only thing that we know to do with our genitals is either completely scientific and have a doctor approach them on the medical standpoint or them being sex. and we don't know how to have any other relationship with our genitals. So it is stepping outside of the norm for sure. It's one of those things where it's like psychedelics, right? You don't know what you're in for until you try it. There's nothing that could prepare you for the experience. And like you said, it is a nervous system regulating practice. It's definitely helped my anxiety. I by nature an incredibly anxious person. And one of the reasons why I started oming was because I'd hoped that it would help, and it has. And I don't know any other practice that creates the same kind of attention and precision and vulnerability that I find in people who practice Om.
So one of the things I learned from the training is why you wear a glove. And I think that was
Yeah, a
my
glove.
biggest,
Everyone's always a glove.
I
What?
know. I think that was my biggest resistance for a long time was like, why are we using a glove? That makes no sense to my brain.
Mhm.
But Eli spoke to it and he was like, it's to take it away from sex and to make it not be a sexual act. And so for our brains, it's wait, you're touching my clitoris for 15 minutes and it's not
I'm getting
sexual
turned on.
and I'm
I'm
getting
getting aroused. There is sexual energy being activated.
so wait, what? But when that clicked in, I got it. I saw it and I got it and I understood it. And so in all honesty, I don't think I've actually ever done an ohm because unfortunately, the guys that I've ohmed with are like, okay, you don't want to wear a glove? Great. And man, if you're listening, wear the freaking glove. Like,
Take it from the professionals.
I'm not a professional, but I will just say, in my experience, every person I've ohmed with, which is probably, I don't know, maybe seven, it's not ohm. They were okay with not using a glove. And now that I understand why, I'm annoyed by that. Okay, I will totally. And now I'm excited to learn and have it be a practice because now I understand it. So I'm coming from knowing nothing, but also being around it for 13 years, which is so weird.
Which is, you're just the perfect poster child for why it's so important that both people get trained. Because a lot of time people will be like, oh, I know how to stroke a clit. Let's just do it. Or I know how to get my clit stroked. And it's just, you don't get the benefits of the practice and you don't understand it unless you get trained. And neither person, it's like, why would you keep the container if you don't know why? It's much easier to say, we don't need gloves or whatever. We can go for longer if you don't have the why.
Yeah.
And all of those things are what makes it Om. And if any of those things aren't in there, it's not Om.
So, as you said, I've done ohm-like practices.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. And it's so funny. Even me being so sex positive, I was resistant to it. And it's interesting, like how that works. And just being authentic with my audience. I show up a lot as very sex positive, but I have my own stuff I have to work through and overcome. And I'm actually about to share something. I didn't know if I was going to share this today, but I'm going to. I haven't shared it on my podcast yet. So it's going to be vulnerable, and I'm just preferencing that. I feel ready to share. So, one of the reasons I'm feeling drawn to an own practice right now in my life is that a couple years ago, I had an abortion, and that's hard in its own self. To go through that experience is extremely traumatizing. And the outcomes of that is something called lichen simplex chronicus. And it's basically it's on interestingly enough, it's on the left side of my vulva. And it is basically an itch scratch cycle. So it's like eczema, but my nerves from the abortion somehow have tell my skin that it's itchy. And so then I itch it or scratch it, and then the scratching goes into the cycle of itch scratch. And so it will become like an eczema-like experience, which obviously makes having sex more intimate or vulnerable. And then it also makes it uncomfortable. And so I've tried everything medically for it, and the doctors don't really have a lot of solutions. So the reason I was like sitting with myself recently and just being like, okay, what does she need? What do you need? Vulva, what do you need from me? Listening to her. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe Om would be a healthy practice for me to deepen into my relationship because a big shame came up from having this itch scratch cycle there, right? And so been my own journey of exploring myself and going through my own challenges later on in life. I found sexual empowerment when I was 23, and I'm very grateful for that. But it doesn't mean that you become sexually empowered and then that's that.
Amen.
It's a never-ending journey. And so I don't know if it's going to help with that or not. But that's one of the things that I'm like, okay, like I need to devote my energy to my vulva because she's talking to me. So that's why I got drawn to it again.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And I want to share that because I think I show up a lot of times online as like this really confident person in my sexuality and everything. And I've had to be a lot more vigilant and communicative than because of it, which is fine. But yeah, it's like it's almost like my vulva's like, hey, pay attention to me. Give me some love and devotion, right? Because I have a belief that I can heal it. The doctors are like, oh, this is a lifelong thing. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true for me.
Yeah,
So,
great.
have you ever heard of any stories of what weird health issues going away from
So
home?
many, so many. I can't even name them all, but pretty much it's like every physical issue also has an energetic component. And
Yeah.
I don't mean to minimize anyone's health experience at all, because I'm not saying that like your health issues are your fault. That is not what I mean to say at all. What I mean to say is that there's an energetic, emotional, mental component to it, even if it's just how it might harm the relationship that you have with your body, how
Hmm.
it might impact your life and your ability to flourish in your life. And so addressing OM is incredible at addressing the emotional, mental, even the physical aspects of it, because I've had friends that were diagnosed anorgasmic or were diagnosed with like they would have painful sex, or I don't know all of the medical terms for the like the constriction of the vaginal canal, so penetration can't happen, and they were told that they were going to need to use expanders or for their entire life, or all kinds of medical issues. It's really amazing when we do get into relationship with our power and with our bodies and with our emotions, how things either the answers come or they just stop being a problem. Like for me, I got into so the thing that I found it because I read a magazine. It was a spirituality, a Buddhist, it was a Buddhist spirituality magazine, and they talked about, they were making fun of it actually. Oh, these people think that you can reach enlightenment through the clitoris. And I was like, absolutely. It's like, show me the way. That really struck a chord in me. So then I watched, so Nicole Daedone is the founder and the creator of Orgasmic Meditation as it is taught today. She's not the creator of clit stroking spiritual practices. There are many of those, and it's an ancient lineage. However, as Om exists, she created the parameters of this particular practice through lots of trial and error and what is effective. And I watched her TED talk, and she says Om is the cure for the hunger in the Western woman. And I had struggled with my relationship with my physical hunger to everything. I was raised a fundamental Christian. And so all hunger was bad. Eve's hunger for the apple was what caused humanity to fall and have to go to hell. Everything was blamed on Eve's hunger for the apple, right? So my relationship with food, my relationship with my body, my relationship with any hunger that I had for connection, for sex, for men, for shopping, for anything. My appetite was shameful and bad and wrong and was going to get me into trouble and was going to get everybody around me into trouble. So when I heard the cure for the hunger in the Western woman, I was like, oh, this could be my cure, right? But it's really funny because Nicole's very smart, and it was really a bait and switch, because the cure for hunger is actually getting into right relationship with your hunger and realizing our hunger is our most intuitive intelligent part of us that has the most to offer the world. And I struggled with my eating habits. I struggled with my, like, just being kind to myself, with loving myself and my body and my weight, and disordered eating, and just like my mother had. And I struggled with climax in sex. It was very hard for me to climax. And I had been having, at that point, sex for many years, because I started when I was 19, and I think I was like 36 when I 35 or something when I first heard about OM. So 15 years. I'd been married for 10 of those years, having lots and lots of sex, and still struggled to understand my body and myself and my hunger. I think a lot of times the intelligence of the body, like having that issue, the physical issue that you have, like these things just come out in these physical ways. And then getting into right relationship with our hunger, with our appetites, especially as women, has us be able to find balance and find health and find flourishing. And so, yeah, climax very quickly within the first couple of years of practicing OM became like not even an issue for me. And I think you learned in the class that you took that climax is like the beginning. And then your practice evolves from there to where climax doesn't even really come into play anymore in the practice. And I couldn't even imagine a sexuality where that wasn't climax focused. And so that's a whole revelation in itself, because we live in a climax addicted world. Like you said, men are trained to ejaculate. And so everything in our culture is climax addicted. Movies are climax. It's like relationships, careers, everything, the way that we do life. So that's a very masculine kind of way, and the feminine way is the as what's actually beyond that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like I always say if you try something and it doesn't work, try something else, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the reasons why is like I understand that my skin scratch situation is rooted, it has a lot of shame and anger, right? And like I've tried so many different ways to get rid of it. And hopefully we can have a conversation here. So hopefully it's in a different space, but like being open and honest about that and curious and trying something different or trying something when it's ready, when time is ready, right? And yeah, that's really an interesting thing. And it's like the body does keep score. It does get stored in the body, it gets stored in the cervix and the vaginal walls, like all the tension. So I love that orgasmic meditation can reprogram that in an effective way. But and teach one of the things I think is so interesting about it is like it teaches women how to receive without giving. Like we're taught in our society as women that like our job is to take care of him, to take care of the kids, to take care of everything. And I think that one thing I love about the practice, like you don't have to take care of anything. You just have to be present in the body and breathe.
Yeah, it's non-reciprocal.
Yeah. And then
Mhm.
also for the men, I think the biggest challenge that men have a problem with is being present when erotic energy is in the space. They get overwhelmed with their eroticism. It's almost like takes over them and they become kind of slaves to it. And so for a man to be present with a clitoris, if the finger owning person is a man, I've noticed it creates an opportunity for him to be a lot more present and calm and grounded and anchored when erotic energy is present. And so I think that's one of the things I think is the beautiful thing is it teaches women how to relax and receive and just be. And it teaches men how to be present with erotic energy without needing to get anything out of it and or to do anything. Like it's not a goal, it's just like a presence. And I think that's really cool too.
I love the way you explain that. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it really is a bend the paper all the way back in the other direction type of situation, because we've all been bent in this particular way by our culture. That the what is that Albert Einstein quote? We live in a world that worships the what is it? That has forgotten the gift. But the God, I'm totally
I'm totally messing it up.
butchering it, but probably people who are listening know what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to talk about, which is the feminine serves the masculine, is basically what I hear you saying. We take care of the kids and take care of the husband. Behind every successful man is a woman backing him. And and really it's the opposite. Really, women are the jewel. Women have the power. Women are power just in who we are in our bodies. And every single thing that a man does in his life is simply to gain access to that thing that women have in her body, that women are. Every war that's ever been fought, every anything that any man has ever done, and it must be so intense to be at the complete mercy of women as a man and not even know that you are. To be told that women are at the mercy of you, but actually what's happening is you're at the mercy of women because it's like the male elephant will travel 200 miles to a female elephant in estrus. And so that is the power of a woman's call. That is a power that the women have, is that. And the reason why the suffering of the world is the way it is because we just have it backwards. And we think that men have the power and that women are trying to run around to get it and have to contort ourselves in all of these ways. But the answer is women understanding that we are the power. And if we really value ourselves and we never leave our seat, that's the answer to the suffering of the world, that they'll get it. And that's actually all they want. But that you're talking about, that hunger and that men losing their minds when there's a vulva in front of them. It's like they're starving for actual, real, erotic, feminine energy. They're like starving for actual sex,
Yeah.
not just consumption, not just fast food sex. And no wonder that they act the way that they do. And then women, we are so scared of our own power. I think what it is, our own impact of being responsible, being that we've let men be the responsible ones. We've let men be the ones to screw everything up for so long because we're like, ah, it's not me, it's him, it's his fault. But if we actually take responsibility and say, oh, I can actually see how I've played a hand in every single tragedy or horror or everything. I've had a role in it, even if the role was just me removing myself from the situation or my absence. Then if we have that responsibility, we cannot be moved and we can reshape the world. And
Mm.
I think that's the answer. And so it's not going to war with anybody or fighting to take anything back or even protecting. I think that we don't need to be protected. It's like it is, can we be hurt? Yes, we can be hurt, but it's only in that being willing to be vulnerable that we can actually be powerful. If we are not putting everything on the line, there's no, there's not actually any power in that, right? So, no, the war won't be won by more war, right? It sounds so trite, love is the answer, but I think at the bottom of everything, it actually is. And so that's one of the reasons why I love Om so much is because it folds the paper back in the other direction. It actually says this woman just laying down on her back can end the suffering of the world, can feed the world just by laying down on her back and getting her clit stroked. Just
What
by
if
learning about her own power and how to direct, how to say what it is that she wants, to say what it is what she sees, to make those adjustments, to get her voice out, to learn what's actually inside of her. And then it trains the man to feel his feelings and to be in response, precise response to that desire that's coming out of the woman, that the woman's expressing. And the woman is the gift, and the man is the thing that helps the gift come out into the world.
protects and supports and cares? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say brings her vision to life.
Yeah. 100%. I think I want to go back to the women don't understand their responsibility. And
Oh,
I think
yeah,
like
that's a great one.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I've learned in my journey with my sexuality is when I was younger, I was like, oh, my sexuality can get what I want. I can get what I want with it. I can get men to do what I want. I can get the money I want. I can manipulate with it. It's a power, right? So, but that I see as a toxic manipulation. And if I'm going to be honest, like when women use their sexual energy to get what they want from the masculine, it's that consumption energy of, it's not even like you're saying there's no feminine, it's not a feminine energy. It's like this consumption energy, and then I realized that I was attracting energy into my space based on how messy I was with my sexual energy that was disrespecting myself. And I think a lot of women don't understand that we magnetize in what we get based on how we work with our sexual energy. And so being responsible with that is understanding like, hey, if I'm having men hit on me all the time in disrespectful ways, how am I a part of the equation? I can leave my house in a tiny little tank top and short shorts with my midriff hanging out, and not one man will hit on me ever because I don't put the energy out in the space. It's not about what a woman wears, it's her energetic frequency. And now that I've been able to not like it takes a practice to figure that out. And I think Om teaches us, can teach women the embodiment of this. But it's like to be responsible for that because I used to get catcalls and hit on all the time. And now, if any guy does come up to me, he's like, excuse me, ma'am, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you are so beautiful. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's so sweet. But that's just like a devotional energy versus this consumption energy. And I think women need to understand that, like, they're creating that with their sexual chaos. And that's really important to know. And then the other element of it is I don't know if you know about Alison Armstrong. Have you ever seen her work?
Yes.
So she wrote this book, The Queen's Code, and talks about this concept of frog farming and how us women take men and they take them from princes and turn them into frogs by belittling them and talking down to them and being harsh with them. And like men are very simple creatures, really. They just want to make women happy and want to make sure they're doing it right. And really nourishing the good in the men around you and holding a line when what's not working is present, but really anchoring that in. I kind of wanted to, because when you're talking about taking responsibility, we have to be responsible with our sexual energy and we have to be responsible with how we talk down to men. And also, we have to understand that we have a multi-billion-dollar industry, beauty industry, constantly telling us we're not pretty enough and not good enough and not fit enough. And so it's a radical reclamation to stand in your power and to love yourself and to not let that impact you. And it's brave and it's bold and it's courageous and it's powerful and it's necessary. And that is, in my opinion, the female's responsibility as how they're part of the equation of war and destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, we see a lot of the same things going on, you and I. Noticing a lot of the same patterns. And yeah, and I think a lot of people are seeing it too, and everyone has a different theory, or different word for it, or a different why for it. And I do see that I understand why women hide from our power because
It's scary.
it's scary. It's the scariest thing. The absolute scariest thing in the world is our own power. And so there's a lot more comfort in dumping it into men and dumping it into the government and dumping it into beauty standards and then in actually knowing our value and like really learning how to aim our call because we all have call and it's all going off all the time even if you don't think you have it, or even if you don't know how to use it, it's going off and it's
The
calling
call.
things
So,
in.
yeah. So the call
It
is
is the
that sexual
creating.
energy. Yeah.
Women are constant creators. Everything we're doing is creating, whether we're doing it consciously or not, whether we're doing it skillfully or not. Like you said, like you decide when you walk out the door what type of attention you're going to get because you've worked on working on your aim. That's what I would call that, rather than having a fire hose, just which is most women, right? And then being like, I don't know why I keep getting this type of attention all the time. And and then we also tend to want to just show up as children. We want to be taken care of and we want to be protected. And I would say that we don't need protection. We absolutely don't need protection. What we need is men who want to enact our visions in the world.
Yes, please. Thank you.
And
Yes.
that is the greatest protection we could ever have, is fully having our vision out in the world. That's really the only protection that we need. And it doesn't mean that the thing is, if you're a woman today in our culture and you stand up and say all these things, you will get canceled. You will lose all of the trappings that womanhood promises. It says, okay, if you look a certain way and you act a certain way, you're going to get a certain type of guy and you'll get a certain type of life and you'll get certain comforts in your life, right? You'll be accepted by the herd, right? You'll be accepted by culture. You're acceptable woman. But if you actually admit that sexuality and the erotic is your power as a woman and that everything around you is created by you, the other women are going to go, don't blow our cover, shut up and sit down and get back in line. We're comfortable being children and being protected and being taken care of. Don't mess this up for us. You will get canceled by other women. You will get canceled by men. You will get canceled by the government. You will lose the booty, the boons of our culture. You will be an outlier. Because you will be considered taboo. And so I understand you particularly know
Like
this
a
one
walk.
because this is the
I'm a
realm
walking
that you live in. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Um,
unfortunately, we only have 9 more minutes, so I want to talk a little bit more. That went real fast. I really want to talk a little bit more about women over dinner because that is how I met you. And closing what we were talking about with the little bow is one of the things I think talking about being in our power as women is being embodied in erotic expression, understanding our sexual power, and having deep, intimate connection with other women and being like in love with other women, not in competition. And so, with women over dinner, can you explain what that is? And we can talk a little about it.
oh yeah, I would love to. Yeah, so women over dinner for me is me really being in my function loosed. It is me being in my purpose. And I did not see that one coming, let me tell you. That was not in my vision when I was a kid of what I was going to be. But it came to me about 4 years ago. So it was created by Nicole Daedone, the same woman who created Orgasmic Meditation. It's a different organization. It's a nonprofit. It is an initiative of unconditional freedom. So unconditional freedom is the umbrella nonprofit, and unconditional freedom runs free food. It runs, which is a free 3-course sit-down meal in Harlem. They do 3 nights a week. And then they do prisons to monasteries where they bring in gardening and yoga and meditation and self reflection into prisons to try to rehumanize the carceral system. And then they've got Free the Artist program, which brings art from incarcerated people out into the world. There's so many initiatives going on, but Women Over Dinner is one of them. And so it's a sit down, it's a transformational dining experience for women where we get to have an experience of our own power. And the way we do that is by answering these curated questions that have us look at and think about and experience our own power differently. And we do it while we eat delicious food because that's what women love to do. We nourish each other emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, all the ways by being together and by having an experience of our own power. And so I host these dinners in communities like the one that you went to in San Diego where we met. And just like any community anywhere, you can get a hosting kit for free, host your own dinner with the instructions on the website, which we encourage that. We've had over 500 dinners globally, and over 5,000 women have attended a dinner. over in the past 4 years. So I'm on the leadership team for it. It's also a movement too, because it is not, it's so totally separate from orgasmic meditation, but it is similar in that it is based on the same principles that women are power. And while orgasmic meditation is a partnered meditation practice, Women Over Dinner is a transformational dining experience. So it's a lot more accessible to people because who doesn't want to go to dinner?
Not quite as taboo. Any woman can
Exactly.
go.
It's not as taboo, right? And then all the money that we raise, so we're all volunteers. The whole organization is run on donations and run by volunteers. We raise money to host these dinners for women in correctional facilities so that we can transform the carceral system with women on the inside. And so that to me is the highlight of the dinners is when I get to go into the correctional facilities and host these dinners with these women who are incarcerated. Because let me tell you, these women have no facade. They have no, they've lost everything. And so they have no reason to pretend. And they get it. And we bring them in real butter, real salmon, real chicken, real vegetables, which is stuff a lot of them haven't had in years and years, real cake. And we feed them as much as they want to eat of the food. And then we feed them in this way of recognizing them as humans. A lot of how we act and who we are has to do with how we're treated and our environment. So just bringing in beauty, bringing in connection, bringing in care and kindness. It's had a really big impact on all the women we've hosted dinners with. I just want to bring these dinners to every single woman who's incarcerated. I think it would really transform the world, honestly. And so that's the mission of Women Over Dinner, is to have every woman in the world attend a dinner and every woman in the world have this experience of her own power to recreate the world.
I love this. I love this so much. So, if people want to know about all these things, because there's a lot of things, stop, how do they find you?
So I'm on Instagram, Cara Joy Brand,
Okay.
and you can find Women Over Dinner at womenoverdinner.org. Those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
And then,
Yeah, so you can also learn about on the Eros platform because I teach one-on-one, but you went to that free class online. They do that every month, and it's such a cool resource. And so the erosplatform.com pretty much we live stream Women Over Dinner once a month on the Eros platform. So even if you're in a city that doesn't have Women Over Dinner, you can come online and still have the experience. We do breakout rooms for the table experience to answer the questions. It's really powerful.
amazing. I love this. I love everything that you do. Thank you so much for being on here. I love our vibe. I knew that it was going to be good. So,
So
and
much fun.
yeah. And for those of you who are listening, again, this is Sex Ritual Radio. It's Rose Heartsong. You can go to roseheartsong.com or find me on Rose Heartsong on Instagram. And I hope you all have a really beautiful night. Bye. I'm going to be real with you. I am so over sex being a taboo topic that we talk about. I am ready for conscious sexuality, spiritual sexuality to be a conversation in the room. I have been in so many rooms full of people. I share that I'm a sex coach and people get awkward and shrink and get small around me. And I am so ready for that to be done. And it starts with you. In order to make this conversation bigger, this podcast gets to grow. In 2026, I am committed to impacting 100,000 people's lives with this, and I need your help. So would you please subscribe, leave a comment, share it on your Instagram story, or text it to a friend. It would mean the world to me, and I will see you next week.